As part of the academic speaker series, so-called marathon, student government today have invited a guest from the field of management. It's Luan Dalipi. He is the founder of the Management Development Associates, MDA, presumably the #1 firm in Kosovo in regard to consulting and management. He's one of the most successful businessmen in Kosovo. Here in A.U.K. we learn about theories, and our professors try to encourage more about the practical side of things. So having Luan here, it's a very good opportunity to see a first-hand experience as to how one finds himself in the reality in the business. The topic of today's lecture is called From Startup to Scale Up, Consulting in Kosovo. So I'll immediately invite Luan and having a speech. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lenore, for this kind introduction. I'm really pleased to be here, and I appreciate the invitation. As I was introduced by Lenore, my name is Luan Dalipi. I'm one of the founders of Management Development Associates, MDA, otherwise known as the most delightful agency in Kosovo. Well, you know, it's always I always like to be spontaneous when I do this because I think, well, now it's becoming my 14th year with MDA since its inception in 2001. Back then we were with another name, but in 2004 we had a revamp of the image and branding. You should all know, as I'm assuming most of you know already, that one of your former professors, Arden Yashori, is one of my partners. Another partner is my brother, Luan Dalipi, who is a partner till 5 p.m. After 5 p.m., I'm the older brother and I can kick him around. Well, where do I begin? I want to give you a brief overview of MDA, where MDA is now. Then I want to go back and to how I started it, even before that, when I was your age, which was not long ago. And then I'll try to give you some points, basically general points, which doesn't mean that you should take them. Every person is his own person. There are a lot of factors that determine your path, your future path, whether you will become a consultant, whether you will open your own business, get into manufacturing, whether you will work for the government, and whatever you decide to do, civil society organization. That's really, to me, when we talk about management, it really doesn't matter where you work. Management is management. The difference between a corporation and an NGO is that the profits at the end are either given to shareholders or reinvested to further build the NGO. But when it comes to management, how you deal with people, how you manage activities, how you manage projects, how you ensure that you finish things and tasks within a given timeline, given budget, all of those things. In fact, they do apply also to the family. How we organize, how we live our lives, how we manage, and how you will manage kids in the near future, because it's all related to good planning. You know, good planning will get you somewhere. So today, MDA has 43 associates, full-time associates, which, considering the size of and the current context of Kosovo, is a relatively good number. Our turnover, average yearly turnover during the last 3 years was 1.9 million euros. We are in the business of managing projects, basically. Our slogan is developing managers, managing development. It really encompasses everything that we do as a company. We are where we are. Kosovo is bombarded, if I can use that word, by international donor agencies and donor projects. We have a very weak private sector, unfortunately, still sort of waking up, realizing that it has to improve, become more efficient, and penetrate international markets if it wants to survive. So at the moment, MDA, most of its revenues come, and I say this unfortunately, from international donor-driven projects. That is because Kosovo is what it is. It has a weak economy. It has basically it's weak in almost all aspects: education, economy, social aspects, and therefore we have the donors here. It would be great if we were some upper income country where private business was thriving, and we would have more business with private businesses. That's something that it will surely come and it will progress. And I wish that again, because the private sector, which is strong and which requires consultancy services, that means that it will grow. That means that it will generate employment, and this vicious cycle of unemployment will turn into employment eventually. And we all know, and you have learned as well, that private sector is the one who actually generates most of the employment. MDA currently manages 18 projects. Again, they, as I've said, most of them are donor funded. We basically specialize in 4 main areas: private sector development, public finance, one group of HR, employment, social services, and communications. So, what were the, if I can refer to them as success factors that brought MDA to what it is today? I like to sort of split them into 2. Strategic, long-term factors, which include ability to plan, have a vision where you want to be down the road. And we as the partners, as well as the top management of MDA, have this in mind almost on a daily basis. Everything that we do, we like to add value, we like to exceed clients' expectations. It's not about getting one project, getting paid, but it's about getting one project and getting that client again to call you to do another project for them. Basically, I am proud of the organizational culture that we have at MDA. We are in the business of consulting, in the business of basically business of people. You have to have a good organizational culture internally that is conducive to good strategic planning. We don't have people that come to work at 8 and leave at 5 and wait for a salary. A lot of times we stay late working, finishing what we have to finish. And if you walk around the hallways of MDA, I'm proud to say that it's a very good atmosphere. And I think that is the foundation of a good business, no matter if it's a consulting or whatever. This interpersonal relations within the company, and it's a responsibility of the leadership of the management. I need to take credit because I'm one of the founders, but we as founders, we never would allow anything that would even remotely look as sort of uncollegial or something that would work against a true, sincere teamwork, which is needed, especially in our business. That organizational culture, again, as I said, has enabled us to plan well, have a good, sound strategic plan, and based on that strategic plan, which is a long-term, where we see ourselves in let's say, in 2020, and from the inception we have said we want to be the best in consulting business, and today we are. That doesn't mean that we underestimate any of the competitors, but based on that strategic plan, we have created operational plans. We have in total 4 main divisions at MDA, and each of them have yearly operational plans, which are then divided into quarterly plans, and there is actually a management structure within MDA that follows, monitors the benchmarks, whether they were achieved or not. So basically, there's a system set up. In Kosovo, most of the time, things don't go as well as planned because a lot of things people, they forget that they need to invest in a system. Whatever it is, in time you will continue to improve that system, as we do even today. Or again, very frequently, some needs come up, and we say, okay, we need to tweak our system because we have not foreseen this new situation. So we need to be a flexible organization. We are a flexible organization. Basically, the strategic plan and operational plan, if it's written sufficiently, and then I cannot get into too many details here because even I today continuously sort of strive to improve even myself in the area of planning. And in our business, in our consulting business, that's one thing that is an issue. It's ambiguity with the future. You never know what tomorrow brings. And because you are basically relying on projects that different donors are putting out, of course we are following up, we are researching what plans the donors have, USA, EU, the Swiss Development Agency, and other donors for the next 5 years, how they see they will support Kosovo, and then we try to prepare for it in advance. So when projects come up, we bid, we do our homework, we do our due diligence, we get the best sort of methodology in place, the best rationale for our proposal, we get the best experts possible, whether local or international. In many cases we hire international experts as well in our projects. And then obviously the result has to be we win the project. I can tell you that even with the preparedness that we have, the systems that we have, still we apply in 10 and we hope to get 2 or 3. That's actually a good win to bid or bid to win ratio in the consulting industry. What else I can say? I would really love to right now open up even, well, I didn't say this at the beginning, but feel free to raise your hand and ask any questions you may have as I speak. And I would like to open up now this opportunity to see if any of you have a question about consulting business. How many of you actually hope to get into this industry? Okay, all right, good. Yes?
I had a question. In regard to the startup, I was interested when this initiative was reached by the student government. If I'm interested in starting a startup, is this sort of a strategic planning really important in order to initiate it and to stabilize it and to reach the status of a scale-up?
Okay, when it comes to startups, I should inform you that we have also actually created last year MDA Foundation, specifically for this reason, to help young entrepreneurs develop their business ideas together with us. And we have set up a interesting, I think, Kosovo adequate model. I do believe that, as you get experience, your planning skills get sharpened more and more. But it is good to know what you want, put that on paper. But I can also tell you that the moment you print that paper, that plan is obsolete. You have to have some flexibility and acceptance, or flexibility, or be okay with the ambiguity, with the unknown, especially for the aspiring entrepreneurs. Because I mean, I have my high school through my MDA from US, and I can say that you get some tools, but you need to really be ready to have a great, to be very motivated and not give up, especially when you are opening a new business. And as long as you have the tools, the people around you, the team, whether it's a foundation like ours, or a group of friends with whom you like to work with, you have to know that you will fail quite a lot in the process. Okay, the MDA Foundation now hosts five new businesses, spanning from IT to vegetable processing, customized golden thread ties from Jakova, made from women, who we intend to sell internationally. Those types of businesses. What we do at MDA Foundation is we provide all functional services to these new businesses, from planning, strategic and operational, marketing, finance, accounting, all the different components that make up the business plan. And because now you specifically are a bit different, because you receive this education, you receive the tools in what is known the best undergraduate institution in Kosovo. So you are lucky in a way. But for people who don't have this opportunity, they need more hand-handling, as we say. And we have these people that came to us, they came with a brief idea. They were very passionate about their idea, and I think that's a very important thing. And then we sort of helped them in a matter of 6 months. They actually were presenting in front of us very, very diligently their business plans, the whole business plan. So it was a learning process for them as well. Now we are just before presenting those to a group of selected business people whom we joined in the so-called angel investors network. Again, it's all relative. When you think angel investors in a developed country, you have high net worth individuals who have a few millions lying around, and they would say they would like to invest usually higher amounts of money than what we have here in Kosovo. As an example, I won't get into those details, but even the business plans are unfortunately not that groundbreaking, and that it's something that we cannot do much about, because it goes back way back to how even as children people are taught and are actually, they believe that failing is not should not be a problem, and creative thinking should be something that happens from childhood. So by the time they get to high school and undergraduate, they basically are better equipped with knowledge to present a business plan that is for a business that actually could transpire borders, and not be just for Kosovo. We are a small market at the end of the day. It's just 2 million people, or less than 2 million. So I would wish to see business plans and business ideas that actually would be thought of, products or services that could be bought from, as there are now, the iPhone or game applications or something like that. You could reach a wider base of clientele. Anyways, the methodology we apply is very Kosovo adequate, and it has to be if you want it to work. So I hope that next step of these young entrepreneurs soliciting money for getting their businesses started. Some of them actually started their business already without waiting for the money. as a guy who has an ad box, putting ads for consumable goods companies in new buildings that are being built all around Kosovo. He already went and made agreements with municipalities, respective municipalities, with the building management companies. So he already is actually developing his business fairly well. So yes, you need a plan. Furthermore, you need a business plan. But again, that will have to be revised basically in a constant manner. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. My question is pretty straightforward. How much thought did you put in before taking that decision to start up? I mean, 1 month, 1 year, or 2 years, did you really think too much, or what's the process of thinking before you start?
I really don't remember how long was it exactly. What we usually do is, whenever we have an idea, we are pretty quick at sort of sitting down and analyzing it, whether it's doable or not. We were involved in an EU-funded project called SME Support, Small and Medium Enterprise Support, in 2011 to 2012. Sorry, 2010, 2012. Part of that was an activity which actually I personally initiated. It's called Small Business Days. And within the Small Business Days, which includes recognizing successful competitive SMEs throughout Kosovo, we had also a business idea competition. And we ran this PR campaign, and about 70 business ideas came, which to me is a relatively small number, and again, unfortunate. If you have only 70 ideas, and out of them, basically you are able to work only with 4 or 5, it's not a good situation. That again goes back to entrepreneurship culture, entrepreneurship learning, the whole system that is not right or was not right for a long time. Now we only start to see these consequences. But anyway, there was some interest, and we as MDA wanted to do something that does not necessarily relate only to implementation of projects. We had made a strategic decision to diversify our company and be part of companies that basically you don't rely only on projects, but you have also another source of income which is a bit more steady. Running a typical small business production is much easier than a consulting business, I think. Because in a consulting business, again, you always have to create. In a production business, you create once, then you just improve. It's you know the product, you improve incrementally yearly, and you know you had 200,000 euros of sales last year, you want to increase it to 205,000. You basically know exactly where you need to intervene. In the consulting business, everything is, you rely on things that come to you. Unfortunately, again, because the private sector is not that much consolidated now, where you have strong businesses who know what they want and are ready to pay you for services. You still have business people who call you and they want to consult with you over coffee, because they just simply are not used to paying for that type of service. They're used to paying for something they see. It goes back to the mentality. It goes back to the way that they were raised and the way they made the capital. They still do a lot of things by themselves. They don't decentralize their decision making. You still have large businesses who could do much more than what they actually do if they only had a sort of a more of a let go approach, letting other people do things So we are all different, and that's one thing that I would like to tell you that don't always strive to do things together with other people. None of us are good at everything, and this is one thing that you need to realize. It's good to initiate something, but to have this desire to do things on your own only could be exhausting, but also at the end you would miss out. We started MDA with 2 people in 2001. Today we have 43, and I'm very happy that I actually personally am not involved in the day-to-day management of MDA at all. I am involved only in the business development side, which means, building relationships with new or existing clients, bringing them to the door, and then at the door there was someone else who takes them and then implements the project, basically. So yeah, it took us a while, but we are also now in the process of setting up an MBA program with A.U.K Business School, and that has actually taken about 3 years, and we are still not started. And it's because it's a high-value MBA program, and we wanted to have an MBA program not to make money out of it, but we wanted to actually have a pool of people with strong analytical thinking skills that we can take from. As a consulting business, that's the main challenge we face. The education system, again, taking you aside, doesn't prepare people to think analytically. When they face a problem, they come with 3 solutions, 3 alternatives, the pros and cons of each alternative, and in a very logical, sequential manner, they explain to you which one is the better alternative. That is consulting. You're providing solutions. And that was why we actually initiated this cooperation with A.U.K Business School in Barcelona, which is a pretty good school, ranked quite high, 4th in Europe in terms of value for money, etc. So, but it took us quite a long to get to now the moment where we are accredited, but even now we face a major problem, which is customers, students. Even bigger companies are hesitating to send students to this program. It's about 19,000 for 20 months, 3 days a month. And there are businesses who have turnovers over 50 million euros and over 1,000 people, workers, and they say, I don't have anyone to send. It's really a sad situation because it again speaks of the mentality of not seeing the how should I say, the benefit of investing in this type of education. With one course, if they do send the right person, they can decrease operational costs and return that investment of 19,000. That's just one decision. It's just that we are trying now to, 5 or 6 of us at MDA are meeting constantly with big businesses in Kosovo and Albania and Macedonia. And it's really difficult. So it's something that we have not foreseen. It's something that we have not foreseen. I cannot, you cannot take any answer as it is when I say 2 months, 3 months, 3 years. It really depends on the current context of your business idea, how motivated you are, how diligent you are, how consistent you are in approaching and developing that business idea. But anyway, we have set up this MDA foundation. Is there? We have yet to see the results of that organization. Yes.
Presumably in your consulting operations, you get a good chance to examine the various sectors of the Kosovar economy. Could you tell to our students at A.U.K any particular segments of that economy that you think are the most promising as Kosovo tries to find a role in the regional and larger markets?
Yes, thank you for the question. Currently, actually, this is a pretty big topic. First of all, Kosovo doesn't have, unfortunately, yet, in general, Kosovo government, but also the private sector is not consolidated to that extent where we would know and we would be very certain that these sectors are the sectors to take care of and build, because we have a comparative advantage and we can compete with other countries around us. In fact, at the moment, as we speak, just a few days ago, USAID came up with a request for proposals for a rather large project called Empower, and one of its bigger components deals specifically with this, helping scaling up, helping large companies to scale up and integrate vertically into the international markets. By that I mean you find buyers internationally for a textile company that can connect to H&M. That type of vertical integration is what we need, because then it's a matter of how much you can produce. Again, that's also EU is actually on the same phase, trying to introduce the so-called competitiveness project. In both these, MDA are actually lining up the different partners, international partners, to bid. And in the EU project as well, they specifically actually mentioned working with 50 top companies. You see, they don't. They give you. USAID has given 3 sectors: ICT, tourism, and textile. They mention them in the RFP, but they don't decisively say you need to work only with these. Unfortunately, Kosovo government has not been able to develop how should I say, baseline statistical gathering mechanism, which would tell us and would assure us that these are the sectors that you need to invest in. We are a small country, limited resources. We cannot go on and work with every sector. We need to pinpoint 5 or 6 and then develop them and then hope that in 5-10 years time Kosovo can have companies, leading companies in the region in those sectors. I visited the group of Ministry of Trade and Industry Ireland in last year, and basically they showed us how they did it 20 years ago or more. And you know, Ireland was a success story. It became the tiger of Europe and all that in several sectors. They said they initially sent people to US. They have a large diaspora, Irish diaspora in US, and they targeted the pharmaceutical industry. People were there calling, knocking on doors, insisting until they got few big names. Now they have 8 of the largest pharmaceutical firms in Ireland, and they started with trade, but now they actually are into R&D, research and development, which is high value. But what the government of Ireland did was also that it matched that initiative with the education as well. So we have a lot of people who, you know, are taught and received education in the pharmaceutical industry. Basically, Kosovo is still in a very it is still very foggy. And I say unfortunate because for this, again, if you don't have a government who has the political will to, you know, laser focus on some sectors, because again, we do have very little resources, we have to choose where to put those resources. Or in developed countries now you have the private sector who actually doesn't need the government. They are consolidated, the industries are consolidated, and they develop, they help themselves develop. But in Kosovo case, Kosovo context, you have many donors, they are giving you the money. Unfortunately, we are not utilizing that support as much as I think we should. and a lot of money has been poured into Kosovo over the last years. A lot of money in the startups, which I agree it's important, but even more important than that are scale-ups. You know, if there's a company that is exporting already, they have done their homework, they've gone through a lot of problems, they managed to stay in the market. Why not help them? Because they will then help smaller companies. As we had recently a case when I met with a wood processing plant in Ferizaj, who said, I'm actually ready to invest just to outsource few of the activities for smaller companies so they can actually give me some products that I need. I then assemble them and I want to focus on international market. I want to focus on finding buyers. So it's good that the donors now are investing in scaling up. Again, startups are good, they should continue, but they are moving their focus to scaling up. But it's not good enough because we still are not very sure, neither are the donors, neither the government, neither the private sector, in which specific sectors and sub-sectors we should invest. So, I don't know if that answered your question. We have actually researched in the last 3 months quite heavily. We received customs data, saw trends on the last 3 years, which company export the most. It's metal processing to the largest extent, the biggest one, scrap metal, and you have some agricultural products, but again, mostly sporadic. A lot of the information is not really unified. You have one company that is registered in 10 different names, like, I don't want to mention names, but a big, huge company, and there's no way to merge that data. We could not find out for sure that it is the one company. They do that for all sorts of reasons. So what I'm saying is that the quality control of the data is not there. And it's the responsibility of the public institutions that should do that, like customs or tax administration. But one good step is the fact that they are investing in large companies, helping those that could help themselves in a way. I know it sounds a bit, too maybe capitalistic, but I admire people who employ more than 2 people. And there's a lot of companies in Kosovo that employ a lot of people. They export even, and I think we should be helping those companies because they help themselves. Yes. Sorry. No. Okay, Mas. Since you had one question,
I wanted to ask you what type of companies do you consult in the tourism?
Non-directly, actually. Unfortunately, non-directly. We have a project called Enhancing Youth Employment, funded by Swiss government, and there tourism is one of the sectors we are trying to help out. But I cannot think that we have one in tourism. No, sorry. Okay, so Monday.
Okay,
Central.
my question is regarding the business scale-up that you mentioned. So let's suppose we say there is a firm that has this sort of really good market here in Kosovo, but is willing to expand maybe in an IT sector, which is really flourishing right now. What would the MDA support it with the foundation program that you have, and which would be the requirements that that company should have to be supported by the MDA foundations in order to reach that outer market, the outsourcing market?
I'm not an ICT expert, but they actually, you can visit our website, or even better, visit the MDA Foundation. Venera Bichok, who is the head of the foundation, she was instrumental in setting up a IPCO Foundation. She's a very knowledgeable lady, and we have basically everything from the contract that you need to sign with us, in which all terms and conditions are stipulated. You get a 1 year of incubation on the site, and 1 year offline incubation as well. And by the end of that first year, you will be ready to talk to credible business people who have already shown interest and have capital to invest. So in that process of 1 year, first year, all functional services that MDA offers, again from planning down to accounting, all of those services will be given to you. You'll have space. Terms and conditions are such that financially we can be a minority shareholder, but decision-making wise, we insist on keeping or maintaining 51% of the shares, of the decision voting rights. This is, again, taking into consideration the context of the Kosovo business mentality. We have built this based on the premise that people trust us, trust MDA. These business people trust MDA, and they are willing to leave the decision-making part up to them, up to us. Sorry. The specific terms and conditions, whoever is interested can come over and find out.
So practically you're saying that after 2 years, this contract of support that you're going to have to give to the business is going to be over, and then that sort of 51% of management decision will be transferred to the rightful owner. Let's suppose we say the business owner, right?
No.
So that's going to remain.
No. The foundation, again, how can I explain this? There's no such thing as free lunch.
Yeah.
We remain shareholders. And the idea we started this was to become shareholders in new businesses, diversify our portfolio. There's many donor-funded startups, or they invest, they give 5,000, 10,000 euros in a new business, and a lot of times we've seen many ideas being recycled from one donor to another. We ourselves have invested over 70,000 euros to just set it up, and we intend to be part. Essentially, it's a holding group, be part of many businesses. Our vision initially was to be part or shareholders of 10 business by 2020, which an average each employs 200 people. You cannot control that very much, because really it depends on the ideas that you get. You may get a good idea of a software that employs 2 people, but financially does wonders. So specificities, without getting into, I think whoever is interested, you are more than welcome to come. We will present to you the terms and conditions, and you can decide whether it's something for you or not. Yes, Professor.
Could you tell us, please, as a consultant, over the past 14 years, which has been the most satisfying, the most exciting project you've worked on, perhaps why? And secondly, are you employing A.U.K graduates?
Yes. Well, the second one is easiest. Yes, we employ A.U.K graduates constantly over the last years. And each year we try to get 3 or 4 interns, and out of those 3 or 4 interns, the majority come from A.U.K. Blended, it actually is working now at MDA, and we have, again, not to flatter you, but it is flattering and congratulating, as well as professors and the whole environment here, that it does produce very strong candidates. So it's our pleasure to have people show interest from A.U.K and also to engage them in our company. The first question, I think the most satisfactory personal engagement, because my role of as a business developer, as a founder and owner of MDA, is to bring business to MDA's doors and let the management sort of deal with it, and then I make sure that things are being done. I keep contact with the client basically, but I can say I strive to have 50% of my time allocated to personal consultancy engagement missions, and one that was more satisfactory to me was the one with Ministry of Trade and Industry, years 2011, 2010, 2012. I actually had about 300 days of work there, and I was involved quite heavily in the drafting of the SME development strategy for Kosovo, which was approved by the government in 2011, which sets again the vision and main strategic goals of SME development. Strategies are great. Implementation plans are even greater. So then we helped them with the implementation plan, which was a very elaborate, because SME development doesn't include just a Ministry of Trade. They kind of held the flag, but it involved about 30 different stakeholders throughout the government. So the work of bringing all of them together, facilitating the discussion, I believe a good consultant is not someone who produces, but someone who facilitates, because at the end you will leave a product on their table which they need to feel like owners of. And if they have not invested their time and their thinking into that process, then it becomes a document on a shelf. In Kosovo we are dealing with 4 types of people: people who know and want, people who know but don't want, people who don't know but want, and people who don't know and don't want. Sorry, in Albanian sounds much faster, but by don't want or wanting, I mean they want to be engaged, they are motivated to work. The whole context of Kosovo, unfortunately, leaves us with less people who know and want than we would usually want to have. And I cannot have the MDA environment everywhere I go, and especially in the government sector. So it was a lot of headache, working in that project. But when it resulted in a milestone being achieved, like developing a plan which was approved, developing a strategic plan which was approved, developing an implementation plan which was approved, and then a few things that came out of that, in which I was also sort of engaged quite heavily, like the Small Business Days. Small Business Days I mentioned very quickly, but it now has become the flagship public-private dialogue tool of the Kosovo government, under the auspices of Ministry of Trade. It involves about 5 donors yearly. It's an annual activity. It involves 15 different Kosovo government, business sector, civil society sector stakeholders, and it's some of the main outputs are the most competitive SMEs in the 7 regions of Kosovo, where we apply, well, I applied methodology. Now they actually run with it. That's the satisfactory part that I like, is that we gave a consultancy, but then that is being implemented as an activity on an annual basis. And in fact, it has improved, even from the first part. So that's even better for me, because people have learned in the process, and they take information from pension trust on employment data on the last fiscal year, information from tax administration, customs, R&D or CSR, corporate social responsibility, and R&D activities in which companies are involved, and all those different criteria. They all have scores and weights, and they give the top 3 companies in the 7 regions. So we have 21 top SMEs, and then out of those 21, there's another national level competition in which the top 3 are selected. in any way, it was a very rewarding experience because even the companies up until that moment, there used to be a minister who, in a basically not based on a strong methodology, chooses some companies, and usually bigger companies you will see the certificates on the media, best company of the year, this and that. This time we went to smaller, medium-sized companies. So first of all, they were very happy that someone is actually recognizing their contribution to the society, to the fact that they increased employment, they pay taxes, they don't have a problem with the law, they export, they invest in R&D, they invest in CSR. We had companies who had employed people with a person. Let's say one example was the Down syndrome, and the owner said, I employed him because. And that employment has tremendously improved basically his outlook in life. He became more sociable, happier, and no one knew about that business until we went to his doors. So all of that experience was excellent. So now that they repeat the Small Business Days, you can check it, smallbusinessdays.com. Each year, they added a few things, the top woman entrepreneur of the year, they did an international conference, which we didn't have when we had the project. So basically it's being completed yearly more and more. What I always tell people is that provision, whatever services you provide or products, you need to think about consistency. McDonald's sells in a consistent manner bad food. They're successful because they do it consistently and in a very nice system. They just operate all over the world. If you have a product or service in mind, you need to stick to it. You need to ensure that it will be consistent. The quality will improve, but you will not go back. You cannot go back on the quality or lower on the quality. And that is what the Ministry of Trade people are doing. And in fact, those planning skills have also resulted in them telling a donor, no, we don't need this, we would need this. And this is another big, for me, motivational factor because we have in Kosovo now the so-called too many cooks in the kitchen syndrome. We have too many donors pulling different beneficiaries. Ministry of Trade has, I don't know how many donors telling them, I want to support you in this, I want to support you in this. Now they're saying, no, we have the strategic plan, we have the operational plan, we want to support me on this. So all of these factors to me are motivational and what make that experience a bit better. But the basis was there. That's another fact that people there, although you had people who didn't know, you had people who wanted, had the willingness to improve. And that is the prerequisite that we as consultants look for and hope for. Thank you.
All right.
Renaud, your colleague in front of you, maybe a question.
My name is Luan, and I just wanted to ask you, do you think that we are risk takers as a society, considering that opening or starting new businesses and moving towards the unforeseen?
Well, relative to what? That's a question, but...
so opening new businesses...
No, I mean relative to what other nation. I lived 8 years in the US and I think we are no risk takers if we compare ourselves to Americans, let's say. But again, it has to do with the system. My father is an engineer and he worked, I was retired, but he worked in a system which was not performance-based. And the people were used to just work in that 8-hour job and not thinking about anything else, getting a salary, being equally treated and all that. And an opportunity may pass like this, it's not gonna, react. That was the system, that was before. So we still have a little bit of symptoms from that systems. You here, I say to you, you are equipped already with necessary knowledge to not be afraid to take risks. You have many tools at your fingertips. Professors give you the tools. Every business idea, there's a process, there's a thinking process that you need to go through. You don't have to decide, I want to do this, and jump on it, but you need to actually analyze, spend some time. There's all sorts of tools, and we provide one as well through the foundation. We had 70 business ideas. We selected 5 at the end. So, but those are not hard things to get. You know, it's not hard to get those things. So I say, be willing to take a risk, but you can and you have the resources to take a calculated risk. And if you fail, it's not a problem, because I don't know, I cannot even count how many times I failed. I failed 90% of the time, and I succeeded 10% of the time. You know, it's a part of the, if you are an entrepreneur, you have to be flexible and accept that unknown, the ambiguity. I guess it depends from the character as well, from your aspirations. Again, it's perfectly fine to want to work for the government, you know. Very little risk, but other motivational factors there. Absolutely, you know, it just depends on what's in here.
All right. If there are no more questions, I would like to thank you, Luan, for coming here. And we hope to see you in the future here as well, and to see more students in your company.
Thank you very much.